I'm from OCD Action, which is a non-profit supporting the people affected by Obsessive Compulsive Disorder and related anxiety disorders. So, I'm going to kick off with a video, because who doesn't love videos? It's going to seem like very dramatic and strange, but it's related to this video. Okay, so, have you ever thought about pushing someone in front of a train? Have you ever thought you're going to stab your baby? Have you ever worried that you would catch a deadly disease and fall ill and die horrible? So for most people, like these thoughts, like if we have these thoughts, they kind of pop into our head and then they'll pop out really, really quickly again, like we won't give them a second thought. But for people with OCD, these thoughts kind of plague them every day, and it's really hard to get rid of them. They cause them a huge amount of anxiety and distress. So given the nature of these kind of intrusive, unwanted, anxiety-inducing thoughts or obsessions, it becomes a little bit more understandable maybe why people might start washing their hands a lot in order to kind of avoid getting ill, and repeatedly checking like their baby is alive, or avoiding a train station perhaps, or avoiding going out of the house altogether. So those are kind of compulsions, and these behaviours are kind of carried out to try and alleviate the anxiety caused by the intrusive thoughts. So when this combination of kind of intrusive thoughts and compulsive behaviour come together to kind of disable a person, to stop them from being able to leave the house, to complete their work, to eat, to drink, to sleep, generally maintain their sort of daily life and well-being, that's when someone's diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. So, let's go to the presentation. OCD is much more than just hand washing. How do I make this good?
On the right, there's a present.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong place. Yeah, so it's much more than kind of hand washing and orderliness and those kind of stereotypes, I guess, that we often associate with OCD. It's a really misunderstood kind of anxiety disorder, characterised by these kind of unwanted, intrusive thoughts that cause anxiety, and these behaviours and rituals that we might carry out to try and alleviate anxiety. So it's severe, can be really debilitating, but it's really treatable with cognitive behavioural therapy, or CBT, and that would involve as well exposure response prevention, or ERP activities, which is essentially a way to help people kind of gradually expose themselves, like face their fears. So, as you may or may not be surprised by, the World Health Organization ranks OCD in its list of the top 10 most disabling conditions, and it affects 1 to 4% of children and adolescents, and we know that catching it early means that people are less likely to experience severe OCD later on, which is why we really need to help young people get better now rather than leaving it to further down the line. 50% of people getting an OCD diagnosis in adulthood say that they first experience symptoms in childhood, but it's on average 11 to 14 years later that they actually seek help. So that's kind of 11 to 14 years that they never get back. And part of that is due to kind of stigma about not wanting to speak out about these kind of embarrassing obsessions or about mental health problems. And another part, I think, is just awareness, kind of knowing what OCD is, because it's kind of hard to seek help for something that you don't know exists. But yeah, while a lot of people kind of suffer in silence, and there does need to be more work done to make sure that more people are kind of like reaching out for the help that they need. And we do also need to make sure that we're providing support for people who are already kind of wanting it, asking for it. And we need to make sure that support is the best that it can be, which is where this project comes in. So at OCD Action, we're trying to work on some of those things that I mentioned, like tackling stigma and raising awareness of OCD and improving access to support and treatment. And the OCD Youth project, which is a project I run, is like the youth-led arm of the organisation, if you like. So it's a group of young people with OCD themselves who kind of come together to direct the youth focus activities. And they're called the Youth Advisory advisory panel. And unfortunately, they sent a message because they couldn't be here. There was going to be one person in the chair was going to come today, she couldn't. And so there's going to be a few people sending a little message to you all. That's them.
Was that them exactly?
Anyway, maybe we'll see it another time. But yeah, it was them who kind of first came up with the idea of this app and decided to try and make it a reality. But for now, yeah, so what we're trying to do. So we're trying to make a smartphone app, hopefully iOS and Android, but beggars can't be choosers, whatever we can come up with. And we're trying to do it in a way that doesn't just kind of include young voices, but I guess is spearheaded by them, involves kind of regular consultation with them, and is really based on their kind of input and feedback. And it's also backed by our clinical partners at the South London Maudsley NHS Trust, which is the only kind of national specialist OCD clinic in the UK for young people, children and adolescents. They're providing a lot of the clinical information and clinical content, and they've agreed to kind of use the app as well in their clinics and promote it amongst their service users. And the idea behind it all is that the app kind of supports the recovery of young people with OCD by helping them put into practice some of those tools that they're learning in the clinic, and like helping them use it in their home or out and about. Because let's face it, when you're at school or kind of out with friends, that's not the time to be kind of pulling out all your white box forms and your exposure tests, bits of piece of paper and stuff like that. And importantly, the app will also kind of hopefully include like an interactive function, because a lot of the young people I speak to say that OCD kind of makes them feel quite alone, and those times kind of words of support can really make the difference between someone kind of feeling really demotivated and someone actually like taking action that day. Equally so, if it's like 6 in the morning and there's no one online to kind of give you that boost, the idea is that the app would also kind of be automatically congratulating you when you kind of achieve your goals and things like that. So it's intended that there'll be kind of 4 main sections to the app, or 5 if you kind of include this moderation administration function. And the first is kind of just an information section explaining like what is OCD, what is CBT, what is ERP, why are we using all these acronyms. And we have a volunteer filmmaker on board to kind of help us record some videos of our youth panel and kind of explaining all that information in a more accessible way. The second section is the kind of the heart of the app, really, to be honest. It's the kind of exposure function, the anxiety tracker, and it's here where young people will be able to kind of organise their like all their intrusive thoughts and their feared situations, put them in a kind of hierarchy, and come up with exposure tasks to kind of try and tackle those things, and ultimately record how their anxiety hopefully decreases over time. So this is all based on like the CBT and ERP approaches used at the National Specialist Clinic that I mentioned before, and it's intended to kind of work alongside that treatment. So yeah, enabling people to use those tools at home and outside of their house. The next section is the area where young people can kind of offer words of support to other people, and the section about the talk section will be kind of a link to our instant messaging hotline, which we already launched last year. Function-wise, yeah, so what this app, I guess, its hope will offer is kind of a holistic approach where that would kind of bring together this independent support, guided support, and the peer support, all of which, together can be the difference between like getting better and not. So, to make this work, we need the content, which we have in the form of our kind of clinical partners, the community of young people to kind of engage with the app, which we have in sort of the form of our youth network and our youth panel. And now I guess we need kind of the digital infrastructure to bring those two things together in a meaningful way, which will really kind of make a difference in the recovery of young people with OCD. So that's where I'm hoping that you might come in, because that stage kind of requires a particular skill set in terms of development of digital platforms that we don't have at the charity, and also kind of your creative input about how we might go about achieving some of these outcomes would be really useful. Yeah, here's a little message from my app, which maybe we'll hear another time. Maybe you can post online or something. Oh, really? Another time. Bring them in. But yeah, so okay, the special thing about this project, I think, is that for once it seems that service users, young people service users, and clinicians kind of agree, first of all, that doesn't happen that often, but they agree that this is going to be kind of hopefully a really effective way and worthwhile kind of initiative to help essentially what is like hundreds of thousands in the UK of young people who are struggling with OCD at the moment. Yeah, there's nothing out there like it at the moment, so hoping we can make it happen.
There may be questions. Are there questions?
Now?
Yes, we have.
I was just wondering what kind of like security you have in place, considering it's this incredibly personal information that people are sharing around. In the sense of like, I don't know, where it's stored, like what they put in, or like if you're talking about community aspect, like what is shared and how, is it literally just that there is a forum somewhere that has no connection to the things that they post about their feelings in those moments, or like
I see what you mean. So yeah, I think the idea, I mean this would be something as well with maybe not guidance on, but yeah, the idea would be that the stuff that they're kind of putting in like the tracker part, kind of sort of putting in their particular kind of manifestations of OCD, you know, their obsessions and their compulsions and their tasks that they're going to kind of use to try and overcome them, that would be kind of a very private thing that they wouldn't be open to anyone else. But we'd also kind of want it so that if there was a particular goal that was achieved, like the anxiety came way down, they're really proud of how well they did with the task, like that they could then post that on some sort of like achievements board or forum, where other people could then go, oh cool, well done, because you kind of put this stuff on Facebook, but it seems really, really small and mundane to most people. So kind of having a space where you can say, oh, I caught the bus today, and it's like those people will be like, yeah, so what? And then people will kind of maybe understand how difficult it is to kind of be in close proximity to other people, or whatever it might be, might be able to then comment and say, oh, brilliant, like that's a great achievement, and vice versa. So there'd kind of be an element of like maybe sharing some information, but keeping most of it private.
Yeah, that makes sense considering what kind of stuff.
Just a quick question. Just wondering if you, so with this idea, we pass that across actual users and what they thought and what if the features and the content we had were discussed with them and what their feedback on the app would be.
Say that again, I missed the first half,
So
sorry.
I'm just wondering if you've tested this concept with users, actual users, and with what they've said about this app and what they think about it, or have they suggested some features?
Yeah, it's all actually been suggested by the people who you would have seen on the video.
Okay.
So we've got like a youth panel of like young people. They're all under 25. Ellen's the youngest at 16. And yeah, they came up with the idea. They came up with the function. So there was like one particular function that Esme came up with, which was okay. So she has OCD. She has problems around like using numbers. So putting in sort of in her hierarchy of like, okay, this is an 8 out of 10. Really triggering for her, so she could have like a scale where she could just move it this way, that would. But that seemed like something that that made it into the user spec. And yeah, no, it's all kind of come from users themselves. So it's
Hey. So just out of curiosity in terms of accessibility, is there any reason you've chosen like you wanting it to be a native app instead of like a web app, so then like actually downloading something instead of having it so that they could save it into the bookmarks? I just wondered if that was
as in something that is like a smartphone thing rather than something on your
yeah,
desktop.
so you know how like you can type a website into your phone and it looks like really good and it looks like a normal app.
Okay.
Instead of having it as then having to build two separate ones for like iOS and Android and like Windows, God forbid if anyone has a Windows phone. I wondered if that's something you'd considered.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the main thing I guess is that it would be able to use it offline and on the go. So with it being a smart, like using it on your phone. But I understand, as you're saying, like you can use your phone to access websites or whatever. But I think being able to use it offline was the main reason for that, and I'm assuming that wouldn't be possible with the other alternative. Yeah.
We can discuss it whether it's semi-possible for them.
Okay.
So I would definitely talk about it when the project gets on.
Exactly the sort of information and advice I was talking about that would be useful.
Yes.
Questions?
We can continue when we break up for problem later.
Yeah. So after the pitches, we're gonna just, if anyone wasn't in the know, we're gonna split up into 2 groups for each non-profit, and we're gonna just kind of discuss things, share ideas, and then brainstorm and really break it up into what can we deliver the soonest, and try to break it up into tasks and see our skill sets. But yeah, we'll be dividing. So it's good to ask questions now while everyone's here. As well, just in general about things, and share ideas, but otherwise if it's very technical you can keep it for the brainstorm. Up to you guys.